Could you all please rise for the Right Honourable the Lord Mayor of Perth, Mr Basil Zemplis.
Good afternoon, everybody. Lovely to see so many people here. Welcome to the City of Perth, July 2024 agenda briefing session. We're just past 5 o'clock, 1 minute past 5. I declare the session open. I respectfully acknowledge the traditional owners of the land upon which we meet, the Whadjuk Noongar people of Western Australia, and pay my respects to elders past and present. It is a privilege to be standing on Whadjuk Noongar land. And CEO, can I ask you please to recite the prayer?
Almighty God, under whose providence we hold responsibility for this city, grant us wisdom to understand its present needs, foresight to anticipate its future growth, and grace to serve our fellow citizens with integrity and selfless devotion. And to thee be all blessing and glory forever. Amen.
Amen. Please be seated, everybody. Thank you. Let's get this forward. Where's my stuff going? Right. Okay, just a little bit of paperwork to shuffle around. All right. Well, let me begin, as I always do, by reminding everybody, in accordance with Council Policy 1.4, he says, looking at Councillor Gobbett, hoping to impress him by knowing that off the top of his head now, that this meeting is being live streamed and the recording will be made available on the City's website following the meeting. So we're going to go through the... is this louder than it used to be? Seems to be. It's good. I like it. Attendance, apologies and leave of absence is item 3. In attendance today are the Deputy Lord Mayor Clyde Bevan, Councillor Raj Doshi, Councillor Liam Gobbett, Councillor Brent Fleeton is an apology, Councillor David Gonsalves, Councillor Victor Coe has just advised me he is running a few minutes late. Life-saving surgery, but on his way. Councillor Catherine Leeser and Councillor Bruce Reynolds. I've mentioned the apology received by Councillor Fleeton. There are no elected members currently on an approved leave of absence, and I will remind councillors to please submit any applications for a leave of absence prior to next week's ordinary council meeting. Pardon me. In addition, I'd like to welcome the Chief Executive Officer to my left and the other officers to the left and right of the room, and any members of the public, ratepayers and media in attendance or watching online. It's great to have all of you with us. I'm going to move now to announcements. Just a couple of things to highlight. Firstly, it's with tremendous pleasure that the City of Perth is currently hosting a delegation of visitors from our sister city in Kagoshima in Japan. We've been delighted to be able to welcome Mayor Shimazuru and a travelling delegation. 50 years we are celebrating. It is the longest standing sister city relationship in the City of Perth. And last night, as well as earlier yesterday morning, we were able to host a number of functions that have included community. I think what's really important to note, and it was highlighted last night, amongst the cultural exchange and the friendships that exist, the very significant number of Japanese businesses, huge Japanese businesses, which are based in the heart of our City of Perth and add in a significant way to the economy of not only the City of Perth, but Western Australia, is something that we should all be proud of. And to think that our sister city relationship with Kagoshima City has played a part in fostering those relationships, which have enabled that significant growth in those businesses, is something we should all be very proud of. I've got a number of functions still to come. There's a lunch with Impex, one of those businesses, Japanese businesses, tomorrow. And we are being hosted at that event, and there's an opportunity for us to say goodbye to our guests later tomorrow afternoon. They've enjoyed the sights, they've enjoyed our hospitality, and they have extended the invitation for us to join them to continue the celebration of the significant 50th year milestone in Kagoshima City later this year, and that is currently under consideration, but we do appreciate very much the invitation. You will be aware, certainly my fellow councillors are aware, and I'm sure fellow staff members here today are aware that Councillor Brent Fleeton has resigned and has resigned effective as at 5:30 p.m. on the 31st of August 2024. So although he's not here with us today, he continues his service as a councillor until 31 August 2024. Councillor Fleeton is in the third year of his term, and it's important to note that his term is not part of the new backfill provisions which were recently included in the Local Government Act 1995. So those provisions, new provisions, do not apply to the casual vacancy that will be created by Councillor Fleeton. So the City of Perth, as a result, will be required to hold an extraordinary election. Now, the election day for the extraordinary election, as per the rules, cannot be set later than 4 months after the vacancy occurs. Now, I'm reliably told by our friends in governance that the vacancy occurrence can be taken from the date that we were advised, that is July 15, not the date that he has tendered his resignation from. I know that's a little bit complicated, but in layman's terms, he told us on the 15th of July, so that 4-month period, or the within 4-month period, can begin from July 15. Now, none of that's a fait accompli. Council needs to endorse the method and conduct of the extraordinary election, i.e. will it be a postal election or will it be an in-person election? And that will come to Council next week. And the administration is currently liaising with the Electoral Commission to seek the Commissioner's agreement to be responsible for the extraordinary election before seeking Council endorsement, i.e. the way that council elections are normally run, but that is a formality that needs to be agreed to. Council will be requested to appoint the Electoral Commissioner to be responsible for the conduct of the extraordinary election and to conduct the election as a postal election. That is the intention. And as I mentioned, that report will be presented to the July Ordinary Council meeting. That's next week for Council's consideration. It is our belief that that casual vacancy should be filled as soon as possible. That would make sense to allow us to continue our excellent work in an ordinary and normal manner with 9 seats out of 9 possible occupied. So that will come forward next week. And just finally, there has been, I'm very pleased actually to say that fellow councils around the metropolitan area are speaking with what would appear to be a common voice. And I'd also like to compliment Wolga for their position on what really is the greatest biosecurity emergency facing Western Australia today, and that is the shot hole borer. I'm sure many of you have heard and seen and read information over the weekend, but prior to that, and the effects are having a multi-generational impact on iconic green spaces throughout the metropolitan area and here in the city of Perth. Some numbers which I was able to quote in the press across the weekend. The city of Perth has about 16,000 trees, and the worst case scenario, and this is really important that everybody understands this, 16,000 trees, and the worst case scenario is that 60% of these could be lost due to the shot hole borer infestations. Now, obviously our team is working as hard as they possibly can with considerable expertise to make sure that's not the case. Already limbs have been removed from trees around us, including the famous fig tree in Supreme Court, or just here, just between the Supreme Court and the back of Council House. And the City of Perth administration estimates that the lost value of trees in Supreme Court gardens could be around $766,000 in ecosystem services such as carbon capture alone, and not including the visual amenity of losing those sorts of treasures, which would be into the millions. That's per tree. So that amount is around $766,000 per tree. Now, we're not alone here in being critical of the state government's relevant body, DPIR, the Department of Primary Industries and Regional Development. It is our view, and others, that there has not been enough action swiftly enough. The limbs need to be removed, because if the limbs fester and are not removed, the spread can continue, which could mean the whole trees come down. And as I say, it's not just the City of Perth. We're talking a huge amount of trees in, for example, Kings Park, although within the City of Perth, not our jurisdiction, and across at Hyde Park in the city of Vincent. This is a huge biosecurity emergency. It is COVID for trees, and we urge the state government through DPIRD to step up and act swiftly. It is a crisis around the community of Western Australia, and we would hate to lose this vast number of trees because of inaction or slow action. And we know that our tree canopy is already the lowest of any capital city in Australia. Let's hope that there is a change of direction and faster action coming forward. Okay, disclosures of interest. A highlight on the agenda for disclosures of interest. CEO, I'm going to ask you, have we had any received?
Yes, Lord Mayor, the following interests have been disclosed. Councillor Catherine Leeser has disclosed an impartiality interest in item 11.2 draft Northbridge Character Area Local Planning Policy for consistency and completeness. She is a councillor on the Heritage Council of WA. Councillor Catherine Leeser has disclosed an impartiality interest in item 11.3 draft St George's Terrace Character Area Local Planning Policy for consistency and completeness, as she is a councillor on the Heritage Council of WA. Councillor Catherine Leeser has disclosed an impartiality interest in item 11.4, proposed designation of Godric Street Heritage Area and draft Godric Street Heritage Area Local Planning Policy for consistency and completeness, as she is a councillor on the Heritage Council of WA. Councillor Catherine Leeser has disclosed an indirect financial interest in item 12.1, business improvement grants, as her close relative and Australian Venture Co Limited both own separate lots at 60 Royal Street, East Perth. Councillor David Gonsalves has disclosed an impartiality interest in item 12.1, business improvement grants, as they have previously attended performances at the Actors Hub Theatre. And finally, the Deputy Lord Mayor Bevan has disclosed a proximity interest in item 12.1 business improvement grants, particularly item K, the Laneway project, and P, the Comedy Lounge Laneway business enhancements, as he has an apartment at 380 Murray Street, Perth.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, CEO. If this cuts out, just let me know, won't you? But it seems to be working okay at the moment. Do we have any disclosures from the floor this evening? Okay, item 6, public participation. 6.1 is public questions, and public question time will be held at the ordinary council meeting next week. Look forward to that already. 6.2 is deputations. CEO, do we have any deputations?
Yes, Lord Mayor. 2 deputations have been received in relation to item 12.1 business improvement grants.
Okay, Councillor Leeser, I think you're going to leave us at this point. So Councillor Leeser, while the deputations are being made that relate to the disclosed indirect financial interest in item 12.1 is leaving us. Thank you, Councillor Leeser. To those of you stepping, you're going to go later on, Deputy Lord Mayor. You're going to go when the deputations relate to, it's a proximity declaration that you've made, but that's for another item. Also 12.1?
It is, it's another.
Right, so you can stay for the moment. Another applicant. That makes sense? Everyone happy with that? Thank you. Okay. Can I remind everybody stepping forward for deputations, firstly, thanks for being here. We value your involvement. It's great. It's what council offers. You can't get it at state parliament, can't get it at federal parliament. Walk in here, tell us what you think. How magnificent. Go local government. I would like to invite all of you, when you step forward, you'll have a 5-minute limit for deputations. 5 minutes. We're very strict on the clock. I will now invite Riley White, representing Ambassador Bar Proprietary Limited, who's speaking against the recommendation in item 12.1, business improvement grants, to please come forward. Riley, you're accompanied by some guests, but they're not stepping forward. Is that right?
Sorry?
You've got some others with you, but they're not coming forward.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay, mate, so I won't worry about going through the other names. I'll just note that Councillor Coe, complete with very fine haircut, has stepped into the chamber. Thank you, Councillor Coe, for joining us at your earliest opportunity. We appreciate it and hope all went well. Okay, Riley, Name, address, and then 5 minutes is away. Thanks, mate.
Good evening, Lord Mayor and Councillors. My name is Riley White. I'm at 5A Anglesey Street in East Victoria Park, and I'm the Director of Ambassador Bar Proprietary Limited, located at 59 Aberdeen Street in Northbridge. I'm joined here today by my Music Director, Matilda Simcock, and my Head of Operations, Jaden White. We recently applied for a business improvement grant, and I'm speaking against the officer's recommendation to reject our application. Located at 59 Aberdeen Street, Ambassador Bar is a classy piano and jazz bar with a focus on table service, music and dance, and to create an excellent customer experience. We believe that this will be quite a unique experience in the city of Perth and not something that is currently offered. There are live music venues around, some well-known ones with an emphasis on jazz, but nothing quite like this. We're uniquely positioned on the ground floor of the building underneath the Regent Ballroom, which is a ballroom dancing studio of which I am also a principal, to become a hub for piano jazz music and ballroom dancing. We know that there is a market for this blend of entertainment, as for a couple of years now, my musical director Matilda Simcock and I have been the creative force behind sellout and award-winning fringe shows, Cabaret at the Ballroom in 2023 and Ballroom Blitz in 2024, which also took out the top award in the dance category at the festival. With ECU moving into the city, we are also very excited by the prospect of being able to give WAPA students and graduates a new home and place to perform. As my two colleagues with me are both WAPA graduates, this is something quite special to us. Now, back to the location. For the past few years, the ground floor tenancy at 59 Aberdeen Street has been home to a few K-pop dance studios, which have not seen more than a year each. Most nights the tenancy was dark and vacant, with their classes there infrequent and only active for a few hours at a time. The previous tenants gave their notice to vacate in November last year, and the space had not been utilised since we took it over earlier this year. Inside, it was more or less a shell, grey floors and walls with mirrors along one side. We took over the tenancy in March, did some initial planning, purchased a few furniture items and prepared the walls for painting, and then applied for the business improvement grant in April. Since that time, we have painted the interior and exterior and applied wallpaper, conducted acoustic modelling and reports, constructed and installed a new bar, along with associated plumbing and electrical, purchased fridges, glass washers and other bar appliances, installed CCTV, installed new lighting throughout the premises, constructed furniture set pieces, including a large planter box for a beautiful palm, purchased and installed sound equipment, including a historical baby grand piano, which has a lovely piece of Perth history attached to it, and we've been through the process of planning and development approval, food business inspection and registration, building surveyors and approvals, and of course gotten our small bar liquor licence. This is not to mention the enormity of setting up our software systems, creating our menu and planning our marketing and going through the hiring process. The business improvement grant we applied for in April was to assist with the fit-out costs of activating this previously underutilised space, including the acoustic report, electrical work, purchasing sound equipment, paint and other building supplies, to facilitate the tasks that we have since undertaken. The grant application stated that works could commence after submission, and I'm pleased to say that we are effectively complete, although we have dipped significantly into our operational budget to make this happen. When I saw on the agenda that the officer had recommended to reject our proposal, I was quite surprised, as I thought that we did align with the spirit and purpose of the grant as a small business trying to get started and to activate and bring life to Aberdeen Street. When I called and requested feedback on why the recommendation was to reject, I was told that the main reason was that based on my application, the panel had thought the idea was unrealistic and that understandably the city gets many applications and the council has to put their funding behind applications that are real. The reality, I'm pleased to say, is that we are putting our finishing touches on right about now and are scheduled to open early next month. I can understand, however, why the panel may have thought based on the application alone that it could be unrealistic. As a small business just starting out, we are moving very rapidly, and the application is just a snapshot in time. Evidence that we are required to provide to support the application, such as quotations and bank statements to assert that we have enough cash to do the job, are quite difficult to provide when things are happening so quickly. The reality is that I'm the sole director of Ambassador Bar Proprietary Limited, and I've put near to $100,000 of my own money into this venture, extending the mortgage on my house to do so. Funding to date has come from no other source than my own pocket.
Nearly 5 minutes.
Thank you. I'll skip ahead a little bit. So at the time of the application, I only had $40,000 in the account to show. 5 of that was due for operational expenditure, not fit-out costs, hence the match funding being for $17,500. We have since spent what that money would have been for on the fit-out costs. I would like to finish by saying that I very much look forward to Ambassador Bar becoming part of the City of Perth's social scene, and I hope that we are able to offer a memorable experience to both our guests and performers and artists. I would also like to take the opportunity to thank all the people who have helped me get this project over the line. Some of who are here with me today. I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Should the Council approve our funding request, it would contribute in a very meaningful way to the Fit Out project and be incredibly appreciated by me and everyone who has worked to make this vision a reality. Thank you.
Thanks, Riley. Okay, if councillors have some questions, they'll have the opportunity to ask those of you now. I've got a couple for you. And then if there are questions for the administration, I'll ask my fellow councillors to wait until the item comes up in the agenda tonight. Can I just get you, if you don't mind, it was at about the 4-minute mark, but that won't mean much to you. Just that the to and fro with the city when you sought feedback. I'm very pleased to hear that the city was able to, was willing to provide feedback. Perhaps you could just go over that conversation again as you read.
Yeah, so basically I called them on Friday after the agenda came out, and I read through where the agenda item was, and it was in the reject item or section. We were the first one off, so we're next into the approve column.
But just for what it's worth, so 13 were in this round, if you like. 13 have been approved, and 7, you were one of 7 that wasn't approved. I say that just to point out that we get a lot of requests. So it is right, we get a lot of requests. And our team, their job is to prioritise them based on the assessment that they make. And so there were 13 considered in front of you. Now, I appreciate you're arguing the merits of that. I accept that. But just to point out that our team are trying to rank them, and there was clearly 13 considered worthy that have been allocated cash. So it's not like we get 1 or 2. We get a lot of people asking. Yeah.
Absolutely understand that. And when I sought feedback so that I could have something to present today, the main thing I was told was that it appeared, based on the application, that it was unrealistic to happen. When I told the sponsorship officer that, well, we're actually opening in a couple of weeks, they were quite surprised by this and said, you should definitely come to the meeting and say that.
Yeah. And we're pleased that you did. I should just also add, and Riley, this may or may not comfort you, but so $250,000, and so those 13 have exhausted the $250,000. It's not an endless, infinite bucket. We wish it could be, but that would mean rates going up and all of those things, and we're juggling all of the things that we do. Again, just some background for you. So the part of that sort of line of unrealistic was because of the money that you presented that you had in the bank at the time. Is that right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. Yes. There was $40,000 there, and the impression was, well, you're not going to be able to do all of the things that you're saying if you've only got $40,000 to play with.
I believe so, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you've said you've done this work anyway, is that correct?
We've gone ahead and done it, and I've since taken out, extended the mortgage on my house to assist in funding for it. So that was an additional $50,000 that I've put into this, and we're effectively complete and ready to open in a couple of weeks.
Really admirable. And the commitment to get open is great. And without sort of wishing to preempt what happens from here, we hope you're knocking on the door for the next round. We really do, and it might be, without preempting a decision of council, it might be that we're not able to satisfy you right now, but I'm very pleased that you've come here and told us your story, and that means we're much better informed next time around.
Thank you.
Councillors. Councillor Reynolds.
Yeah, Riley, fantastic presentation, and echo what the Lord Mayor said about commending you for your spirit to forge on and to make this happen. Just for clarity, so at this stage you've spent $100,000?
Close to, yes.
Spent $100,000. Now that site didn't have a kitchen, so you've put a kitchen in place?
There's no kitchen as such. It's a bar with sinks, glass washers, dishwashers, not a kitchen facility as such, but it's been approved as a medium risk food business.
Right. You mentioned at the start that it was food service? Or?
There was nothing there. It was a dance studio. prior.
No. Basically, the offering will be a tabled jazz bar with food service.
Table service for drinks, and there'll be olives and cheeses and things like that.
Okay, and the amount that you're requesting was around that 17.5 mark. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, terrific. That's all I need to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Any further questions? Councillors, any further questions? Yes, Deputy Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Riley, thanks for coming along. Can you tell me what liquor licence you've got and what requirements there are for food?
So we have a small bar liquor license, and we must serve food as part of this. And we do have a food menu. It's just not cooked food. So it's shelf-stable foods as well as olives and cheeses and bar snacks and things like that. We just can't cook at the venue. We don't have the facilities to do deep fried chips or something like that. Thank you.
Councillors? Riley, thank you. Oh, Councillor Gonsalves.
Thanks, Riley. Just to clarify, you were saying that you're number 14, so you're the next in line, effectively, if there had been one less applicant. Is that right?
Correct, yes.
And as far as you're aware, would this be the first jazz club within the City of Perth's boundaries, which extends up to Newcastle Street?
Up to Newcastle Street, yes. I believe the Ellington Jazz Club is. I love going there myself. Yeah. We're not exactly the same as that because we've got space for people to dance as well, and table service for drinks and things like that. So we're a little bit more spacious, and that was kind of the unique value proposition where people can enjoy a variety of live music performances and also engage in social dancing to them.
And do you feel well supported in the process of providing the information that you needed to provide, and what kind of support did that look like?
I sort of. It's the first time I've gone through this process. Everyone I've spoken to at council has been very, very helpful along the way. I guess the hardest thing for me is not knowing what I didn't know to ask. So that's possibly where I've fallen down a little bit. But when I have asked questions, people have been helpful and supportive.
Right. Thanks, Councillor Gonsalves. And Riley, thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck with what's ahead, and in particular, good luck with the opening. We're really pleased that you're forging ahead. It's going to be a great new venue in our city. And we might have a councillors' night down there so we can support you in that way.
I would love that. Thank you very
Reynolds
much.
is a very good dancer, so I'd like to see him in that dance space.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Riley. Much appreciated. You're welcome to stay and monitor. You can monitor at home, or if you wish to go, you're also free to do so. Now, the Deputy Lord Mayor is going to leave us at this point. Councillor Leeser is going to stay outside as we invite Justin Palmer, representing... Wait till Deputy Lord Mayor's out. Justin, hi, how you going?
Well, thank you.
Justin Palmer here representing Public House Perth, who's speaking for the recommendation in item 12.1, business improvement grants to come forward. Councillors, I will just check when we have the appropriate time too, whether, and I did notice Ambassador Bar Fit Out is ranked at N in the list, but I will check with the admin at the appropriate time if that is actually in order of, where they were, or it's just how it's presented. It is? Thank you, Councillor Coe. Oh, don't need to ask the admin then. We've got you here. Brilliant. Right. Well, that's not your bother, Justin. So name and address, if you could, in 5 minutes will be yours.
Okay, Justin Palmer, 19 Saris Rising, Guella. Look, I think I am a little bit misunderstood. I've actually obviously been approved for the business improvement grant, and I came here, I thought, to enhance my prospects of getting it, but I think I'm one of the 14. But anyway, I'm here now. I've held the licence down there for the last 7 years, and I'm very happy that I've been approved now. And I'm also, whilst I'm here, I should say that I'm about to reopen the George at 216 St George's Terrace. The lease will be finalised this week, and so it certainly will not be run the way it was previously, especially no COVID parties. And I suppose I can just say thank you for approving my grant. Mine was all about improving the external lighting and bringing a bit of vibrancy to the little area out the front, because we received an ETP from liquor licensing for that area. And so we found the corner of Victoria Avenue, particularly under the big fig trees there, to be quite a dark place. And at night, I wouldn't say, it's just unwelcoming. My venue is on an angle, so your approval will be able to bring lighting to that. We're going to create new gardens, and we've also been approved from the Murray Chambers to use the wall for visual capability, so we can use a little projector up there. So I probably don't need to waste any more time and say thank you.
Thank you. Just before you go,
Yeah.
I've seen that on the list. Is that on A to... So first thing we need to say is that nothing is approved or disapproved as yet.
Okay.
These are recommendations that come to
Okay.
council, and then if it was approved as is, the 13 A through M would be awarded the amounts that have been allocated, and those N through T would not be. Now,
We're just looking at which one.
is that one there? What? Have we got it as a different name? Is it
E.
E? Radical nominees. Is
That's
that
me.
you?
That's me.
Radical nominees. Okay. All right. That's excellent. So
That's the licence holder of the...
yeah, understood. So the recommendation is for nearly $17,000. So leaving that to one side, not preempting a decision of council. You mentioned about the George.
Yes.
And that you're going to open. So why are you opening? How long have you had that licence? How long has that been yours?
It hasn't been transferred yet. The lease will be signed this week. It's been renamed Faraday's.
So you've purchased that business.
Yes, I have.
And why? And why another one?
I think, look, I see people returning back to the city, and I've watched it obviously for the past 7 years down there. I think I'm probably a bit like Riley. In the city of Perth, there's very few, I suppose, owner-operators. If you walked into any venue in the CBD, very rarely do you actually find the owner sitting there. And I think the way I've run public house and knowing the CBD now for such a long time, I think I can make that one work.
Yeah, good on you.
It's sitting there.
Yeah.
So
It's magnificent to hear. I mean, we share your enthusiasm and optimism. More people living in the city. We know the students are coming, but there's a vibe and a buzz, and the city is back in business. So I think, and that was an iconic venue.
It was.
Albeit it went off the
Short
rails.
term.
It went off the rails a touch. One unfortunate incident, but it'll be magnificent to see that back open. So thank you for your confidence in
Welcome.
the city, and thanks for the great support.
thanks, mate.
Is there anything else from anyone, councillors, before Justin sits down? Thank you very much. Thanks for being here. At this point, we can invite Councillor Leeser and the Deputy Lord Mayor to return.
He talks about the unique. It's so true, because 75% of our businesses in the city, in the retail sector, are private, so we don't have that in the mass produced.
Right.
I think it's a good point. I'll shut up now.
He's taken the long way, the Deputy Lord Mayor, soaking up life in the gallery, past the media table. Thanks, guys. Thanks for being here. Thank you very much. Great deputation. All right. We're at 7, 8, 9. Items 7 to 10 will be dealt with at the ordinary council meeting next week. That's confirmation of minutes, questions by members, correspondence and petitions. We're now going to move to reports, and as we move through the reports, I'll ask if any councillors have questions to the relating items. 11, Planning and Economic Development Alliance reports. 11.1 is Hay Street, William to Elder, the streetscape revitalisation. Councillor Leeser had submitted a number of questions. Any follow-up, Councillor Leeser, or councillors, any other questions? No? Thank you. Councillors? Item 11.2 is the draft Northbridge Character Area Local Planning Policy. Did we have anything, councillors? Any questions? 11.3, the draft St George's Terrace Character Area Local Planning Policy. Councillors? And 11.4, proposed designation of Goodrich Street Heritage Area and draft Goodrich Street Heritage Area Local Planning Policy. Actually all been very well spelt out. Great clarity. Councillors, anything? Okay. Item 12 is Community Development Alliance reports. 12.1 is the business improvement grants that we were just speaking of. Now, right. Well, I just want to ask about that. Do I need something for that? Just the ranking here? I do. Okay, that seems not. Or should I just take the good doctor's word for it?
I think if you've got a question, should I?
Okay. I will ask Councillor Lisa to leave the... And the DLM. Oh, it was a slow walk in. It's going to be a slow walk out. Okay.
He should come down now.
Thank you. So, just to clarify them, CEO, through you, so A to M, and I'm not, Dr. Coe, I'm not disputing what you've said, but so is A considered the highest, A was the highest scorer and M was the lowest scorer of those that made it? That is correct?
If I could ask our Manager of Events and Activations to respond, please.
Yes, through you, Lord Mayor. The assessment score is in column 6, I believe, so they have been ranked by their assessment score.
Okay. CEO, through you, I wonder then if I could just take the opportunity to... So how did we feel the conversation relating to the feedback? Were we happy with that?
If I may, yes. I think actually the proponent, and this is the business's first opportunity, has done quite well. I think he himself indicated that he was invited to attend. So albeit there isn't a recommendation that supports his proposal, we as a city are saying we want our councillors to understand and to hear. I think he also suggested that given a certain amount of money in reserve at the time was an ambitious reach. Obviously, things have changed, but so has a risk. So I think from a city perspective, we've looked very prudently at trying to expend to a very large number of businesses these opportunities. And as you will recall, last year and the year before, we extended the budget. So we went over budget and had to find money to fund really great business improvement opportunities. This year we've increased the budget by 100,000, so you're up to 250,000. So I suppose there's a point where there will always be very compelling reasons why people will be successful, and others, unfortunately, not at this time. But I thought, Lord Mayor, the point that this is a new opportunity, and I'm certain that now having gone through the process and had such a favourable experience, because I took his feedback to be very positive, that he will be looking out for future opportunities.
Yeah, no, I think that's pleasing, and I think on balance that's right. I think Riley would argue, other than the result not perhaps going his way, it was a favourable, or it was a pleasant experience otherwise. And I suppose the point we'd make to fellow councillors, and there can be a temptation to want to give everybody who's striving to open a business in the city support. And of course, if you could, you would. But it is not an infinite amount, as we said, and we should be pleased that 13 businesses are getting a good chunk of the $250,000 each, but unfortunately there are those businesses N through T, 7 of them, that were applying for a further $136,000, and can't do all of them. Yeah. But I do think Riley will come back and ask again. That's the pleasing thing.
And Lord Mayor, obviously, I'm sure if all of the City of Perth councillors attend, that would be such a draw card.
Wouldn't it be? It would be. Thank you, CEO. A bit of my humour there creeping into the show. Okay. 12.1. Yes, Councillor.
Sorry, can I just ask a question?
Sure.
Just on the same item.
Yeah.
How many of the applicants which are successful, how many times have they applied in the past? Do we have that information?
Oh, yeah, good question.
Thank you, Councillor. We wouldn't have that information. We could ascertain it. I think it's fair to suggest, though, that we do see through our grants programs some repeat and returns, because people become familiar with the process, they become aware of what's on offer. And so I think, again, this seems to be an early touch point for this particular proponent, and we would, I'm sure, be hoping that once the business is open and up and running, that he looks to other grants opportunities as well.
Yes, Councillor Gobbett.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Obviously taking the advice of the city in the report, but a little concerning that he was giving the advice that the officer's comment seemed that the submission was unrealistic. What was the factor in the application, if I can ask, that made it seem unrealistic?
See, I think he alluded to it himself, didn't he? That there was only $40,000 in the bank statement that he provided, and that $40,000 seemed a very low amount to be able to do the work that he was proposing to do. But in actual fact, he had more available, but that wasn't presented. But that's how I understood it.
I think we need to go to the manager for further advice, but that was my understanding, that he was saying he's actually had to take out a loan. So therein lies some risk as well. So maybe it's the language that was used, but if we could maybe ask the manager to give us a little bit more detail if it's available.
Yeah, through the Lord Mayor, one of the key criteria for this program is to demonstrate strong market potential through realistic planning and budgeting. So the proponent did, in his deputation, note that as a sole proprietor, he struggled to compile the required documentation to provide that assurance to the city. So that was a gap in against the criteria, and the score has reflected that. Thanks.
Yeah, sure. I appreciate that. What I'm just trying to understand is that because he was able to demonstrate that he could raise that funding, why was that not factored into the application in the end?
You could look at it the other way, couldn't you? So, being perfectly blunt, that he's able to raise the money, so he's done it. But yes, go on.
I suppose, and again, without wanting to read too much into his the points that were raised, he said at the time of lodging and the matter being closed, which was April, he had $40,000. Since that time, he has taken out a loan and invested heavily personally. So I took it that the loan applications had closed. We closed it based on the information available at the time. Subsequently, he's chosen some other opportunities. That's what I took away from that conversation.
Sure, thank you. See, I appreciate that advice. And echoing your query, Lord Mayor, have we set these potential new proponents up on our mailing list so that they're aware of the venue support grants, the economic development sponsorship, or whatever else they might be able to apply for, that they're regularly engaged in that process? They've been made aware of that?
So, yeah, good point.
Yes, I think that is a good point, Councillor, and I'm certain that's what the team have done. It sounds like they have a very good communication back through. Even as he was talking, I was thinking about activation grants. So I think there are many opportunities, and maybe once he sort of gets the doors open, those will present even more so. But take your point, and we will make a point of doing so.
Yes, Councillor.
Yeah, final question, Lord Mayor. Appreciating that we have future grant programs that you might be able to apply for, is there any scope for us as the council to potentially reallocate or reapportion some funding in next week's council meeting to assist him so he doesn't fall over before he even gets off the ground?
So, yeah.
So that's a decision by council. So you need to go back into the process at yourselves and then say where you would take some money off a proponent to provide to support this proponent. I think also, if my read of the paper is correct, he wasn't. Is he the next?
Yeah, he was.
Proponent down. Yeah. So then, I suppose what process would you follow, and what rationale would you do to take some off some other proponents who themselves might be quite
actually next down, but the same score, the same assessment score as the one below him. So and they had asked for more money. That's Australian Venue Co. They'd asked for $25,000. So then we opened the proverbial can of worms, Councillor. Which I think we've been very disciplined as a council in. I understand. Well, I was pleased to hear Riley say that he's optimistic about his opening. He's going to open, and he knows to come back and ask next time. And I'd like to think that if his assessment score is high, we'll be able to help him. But he's certainly shown great commitment. Councillors, anything else? Yes, Councillor Gonsalves.
Thanks. Just question through the Lord Mayor to the administration. Just wondering, based on this, it looks like the assessments have been based on ranking, and I'm just wondering whether there's any alternative based on outcomes where there's a minimum percentage score that would qualify for a grant, rather than, so in order for applicants to have some sense of surety and a sense of equity, that if they achieve a certain ranking, if they achieve 70%, if they achieve 60%, that they would be qualifying.
But it's based on budget, councillor. So it's It's
Well, I guess-
$250,000. So
I
if
guess
we
my
had
question-
200 businesses reach 70%, we couldn't do that.
I guess that's my question. My question is whether a outcome-based system, which is used in other scenarios, could be workable for these applicants.
Okay. See you.
If I could invite the manager to respond to that question, please.
Thank you. Through you, Lord Mayor, the budget is it determines how many applications can be supported, and we do see variation in assessment scores program to program. So in some programs, the minimum may very well be 70% to achieve the budget being awarded, depending on the competitiveness of the round. But as we've seen through this report, the minimum of 60% was able to be achieved through funding. So there is a lot of variation, and we would find probably that if there was a minimum amount, there would be budget that would go unexpended in some areas, and then we'd overexpend in others, and it would be hard to manage from a budget point of view. Thank you.
The follow-up to that is
Sure.
is based on, and thank you, Lord Mayor, for clarifying or kind of extending those thoughts. But whether a pro rata amount could be achieved or could be utilised as a way of equitably distributing. So if one proponent was to achieve 70%, they would get 100% of the funds. If proponents were to achieve 60%, they would get 80% of the funds. If they were to achieve above 60%, they would get whatever pro rata would determine or could fit in within that budget. And my follow-up or leading question from that is from Councillor Gobbett's question as to whether a solution could be found, whether we do provide a pro rata amount based on those that achieved a certain percentage.
CEO, would you like to go through the manager?
Please.
Okay.
Thank you. Through you, Lord Mayor. A pro rata amount presents challenges in that the pro rata amount may result in the project being unfinancially sustainable for the proponent. So there is a minimum allocation in this regard of the total project cost. Pro rata amounts and reducing funding by certain levels based on their alignment with the criteria may result in them actually not proceeding with the projects at all, because the amount is not what makes the project non-viable. That's particularly prevalent in event sponsorship and arts and culture sponsorship rounds, where they're reliant on city funding and the requested amount. Thanks.
Councillor Doshi.
Thank you, through you, Lord Mayor. So aside from the grant process, because that's already happened and it's been dealt with, would we, considering Riley's been here and he's obviously done a deputation and he's passionate about this project, in terms of support, could we not support him in ways where we can advertise and promote and help him from a marketing perspective from the city, as opposed to maybe not the grant as such, but promoting him through our socials and things like that to help him start up?
Yeah, well, the answer is
grow?
yes, and I'll throw to the set. But of course, we've got our own channels to be able to do that. New business shout outs, obviously through the city sites, and absolutely. So obviously, everybody's listening. We'd like to make sure that happens. And as I said, I think he has taken it in good spirit without preempting the final decision of council, and acknowledging that there was some other, very similarly scored applicants who missed out, and so we'd like to extend the same support to them as well. We'll make sure that we do that. Councillors, we all done?
Just one last question. Just wanted to clarify over the criteria being used, particularly around the difference between the budget and risk requirement there, and what he explained, which I interpreted as more of a question of finance rather than a question of budget. And just whether he's being judged on the ability to finance the operation versus adequately budgeting for it.
CEO?
Yeah,
the
through you,
manager,
Lord
please.
Mayor. And as I understand the question, the consideration is realistic planning, so being able to deliver the project within the budget that has been outlined in the and the project cost that has been outlined in the application. So the assessment panel needs to make a call based on whether that is a realistic project cost with the financial guarantees that that company has behind them.
Have you got something to add, CEO?
If I may, Lord Mayor, and again reflecting back on the presentation by the proponent, he admitted that he had initially $40,000 as a base to open a business. In addition to that, he's taken the risk of extending a mortgage, and in addition to that, he did indicate that he has now somehow delved into, I think, some of the operational budget that was allocated. So again, I think what we're trying to do in supporting new businesses across the city is also being responsible with ratepayers' funds in really trying very desperately hard to support new businesses, but also using a criteria that suggests their success is a little bit more positive. But again, I think the points that have been raised here tonight around supporting through our business engagement, ensuring that all of new businesses participate in our Visit Perth, where we can promote their businesses, where they can actually promote their businesses. So there's many other avenues available. But I do think we talked about budget. I do think we talked about financing, and I think he himself admitted some risks in both streams.
Thank you, CEO. Councillor Gonsalves?
Yeah, just another follow-up question. Just wondering, based on what we know now of what he's tried to explain in terms of his financing and that being considered a risk in the criteria or the assessment, I'm wondering whether, the purpose of these grants are to support businesses in developing what they offer to our city. But if we're judging them based on their finance rather than their budgeting and overall economic impact, we may have instead a perverse economic incentive where we're funding those that have the means rather than those that could use the support most. And my question is that a misalignment of what we're trying to achieve in this outcome? Are we trying to achieve impacts, or are we trying to support those that simply have the means to do it anyway?
Through the CEO, Councillor, through the Lord Mayor, CEO, through you to the manager. Yeah.
Through to you, Lord Mayor. Through you, Lord Mayor. Yes, it has to be a consideration for the city, whilst not being a hard and fast rule in relation to finance. What I will note in relation to the business improvement grants, that we have had instances of non-delivery in this program, several instances of non-delivery in this program, where council has supported a business and provided approval of a grant that has been extended from 1 year to 2 years, and then there has been non-delivery. So someone has missed out in those rounds. Someone has been awarded the funding, and then it hasn't actually been materialised, and the project hasn't improved the city. So it needs to be a consideration that realistic projects are put forward to council so that we can see them eventuate.
Thank you to the manager who's given us those answers tonight. Councillor Reynolds.
One super quick question. First of all, totally understand where everyone's coming from, and ultimately we're in a situation where once we get to the end of the line, that's effectively makes it a little bit hard to give money out, and the decision around what could, on the face of it, with the information that was received at the time of the application, on the face of that, then it was a risky proposition. The question I've got, though, is around business improvement grants. So this is a startup business. How does it actually qualify for a business improvement if it hasn't started yet?
CEO.
Through to the manager.
Am I able to pass to the General Manager of Economic and Planning Development?
Of course.
It's your call, not mine. Yeah. Your administration.
Planning and Economic Development.
Thank you. Through you, Lord Mayor, I guess it's that's just in the name. This is about assisting businesses to build themselves, to improve. There have been grants awarded, I believe, to new businesses, and it's actually a take on improving our city. So it's not just about improving the business. It does, if the business existing, but yeah.
So when we go out in the community, people do ask about startups, and we can talk about business improvement grants.
Thank you, Councillor. All righty.
Just to clarify, I'm not sure if councillor, my fellow councillor's microphone was on, but just to clarify that it is about impact.
Yeah.
It is about the impact that these grants are about, being assessed on the impact on the city that these business improvement grants will deliver. Is that right?
Do you want to answer that, CEO?
I wonder if there's an opportunity for the manager just to take us through the criteria, because it's actually quite detailed. So if I could maybe invite the manager to summarise the various criteria that the team use in making these assessments.
Yes, absolutely, and they are provided in the report at point 7. So applications were assessed against the following criteria. A, demonstrates strong market potential through realistic planning and budgeting. B, can be completed before 30 June 2025. C, creates a new product or experience within the city which contributes to the overall improvement of its location. And D, the project or initiative contributes to the success and growth of existing or new businesses within identified key sectors, including but not limited to retail, food and beverage and tourism.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Let's move on to 13 and 14. Good thing I asked Councillor Leeser and the Deputy Lord Mayor to leave, wasn't it? Come on back, people. They're having a good chat out there. You can come in for it's not the altar at church. You're allowed to. You got my permission to walk across. Be a lot quicker. Okay, thanks. As DLM and Councillor Leeser are taking their seats, 13 Infrastructure and Operation Alliance reports, none of those tonight, and Commercial Services Alliance reports, none of those either. 15 is Corporate Services reports, 15.1 is Monthly Financial Statements. We had a question from Councillor Leeser, that's for May 2024. Councillor Leeser, any follow-up or any fresh questions from any councillors? And 15.2 is Schedule of Accounts paid May 2024. Councillors? All right. 15.3, Corporate Business Plan 2023-24 to 26-27, the Quarterly Progress Report 4. Anything, councillors? Yes, Councillor Gobbett.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Are we able to get some more of a breakdown under point 6 of where the CCTV cameras have been installed, and if they're installed this month, where they are going, please?
Yes. So, point 6.
Yes, may we take that on notice, Lord Mayor? Thank you.
Sorry. Yeah, we'll provide that information. Will be provided at council. Yeah. Councillors, anything else? No? Okay. 16 is the Chief Executive Officer reports, Local Government Act 1995 reform, caretaker period provisions. Are there any questions on this one? Yes, Councillor Coe.
Thanks, Lord Mayor. Just probably more for clarity. This policy applies to, because our elections run on 4-year cycles, 4 candidates are usually up for election every 4 years. Does it apply to every councillor, or only the councillors are up for election?
As CEO.
I'll direct to the manager of governance, but these guidelines are really to assist with the governance of the city and the sorts of decisions that may or may not be made. Council elections happen every 2 years, and so this is just that period leading up to an election, the sorts of matters that might be considered or not considered. So it's really trying to give some guidance around conduct. If as far as the meetings and other business of council is concerned, but maybe if I could ask the manager of governance to provide
Information.
provide a little. Sorry, my phone just stopped. A little bit more detail, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Sorry, through
Yeah, funny things going on.
you, Lord Mayor. My understanding is that it would the legislation applies to ordinary elections, and the CEO can determine if she wants to apply those provisions to the extraordinary and additional elections.
Does that help, Councillor?
Just a follow-up question. So, when I look through this, it says during caretaker period, councillors can attend events. Is that correct?
Through the governance? Yep.
Yeah.
Through you, Lord Mayor. Yes.
Yep.
If you're referring to the points in the policy,
Yeah.
we're revoking the policy tonight. So you'd have to refer to the legislation. So the intention of the report, not tonight, the intention of the report is to revoke the current policy because the conditions have now been included in the legislation.
Okay. Sorry. So in other words, we can't attend events in caretaker period. Is that what you're implying?
Sorry, I'm not 100% sure, so I will get you that information between now and council in consideration of the legislation. So I'll have a look at the legislation and get that question answered for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Gonsalves. Thanks, Councillor Kai.
Thanks. I'm not quite clear either, but I think the initial question was whether it's only for the councillors that are up for election, or whether the councillors that are not up for election.
Yeah, so does the whole council go into caretaker, or is it only the councillors that are up for election? But that wouldn't be possible, really, because you can't. I don't think you could do that.
Through you, Lord Mayor, my understanding is so decisions of council, it is the whole council. For individual conditions, it is the councillors and candidates who are running for office.
Okay. Yeah, Councillor Gonsalves.
And yeah, I note that the policy is being replaced with a guideline or series of a guideline document. I'm just wondering, with the provisions that have been removed that relate to the CEO, what's the basis for that? Is there not a need to include those provisions as a form of a guideline? A guideline document would suggest that the community would expect to be able to easily see what caretaker provisions apply on the broadest level.
Through you, CEO, across to the Alliance Manager Governance.
Through you, Lord Mayor, the state legislation is available at the state law publisher, so the provisions are now included in state legislation. The guideline is basically just to simplify what the state has put in place.
I think my next follow-up question is, could that not still include the provisions that relate to the CEO as a guideline for the community so that they can expect to know the full provisions?
CEO, let's go to the Governance Manager, will we? Well, you don't have to. It's your call. You can say something if you want.
No, that's fine.
Through you, Lord Mayor, I'm not sure
I guess, yeah, my question is there a reason why we cannot put in those provisions? Because if the document is going to be a guideline, surely we should just include all provisions that we intend to follow.
Through you, Lord Mayor, I'm not sure I understand your question. If you'd like to submit it, I will get you in writing.
Yeah, that might be a good idea, actually.
I will provide the answer before the council meeting.
Yeah. We'll have that before next meeting.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, councillors. On 16.1, we're going to flick across to 17, their committee reports. None of those 18, motions of which notice has been given, and this will be dealt with at the ordinary council meeting next week. 19 is matters for which the meeting may be closed. Nothing there tonight. Urgent business, nothing there either. So all that remains is for item 21, closure. There being no further business, I'm going to declare the agenda briefing session closed at 6:05 p.m. and thank councillors, admin, members of the gallery, staff, people watching online. Thank them for their attendance and their attention, and we'll see you next week.
Could you please all rise for the Lord Mayor, Mr Basil Zemplis?